Hey everybody, it's JB, the Ranch Mechanic. Welcome to my new shop, or what will eventually be my new shop. Ta-da! Look at this gigantic, wonderful, awful mess. We are now standing in what was supposed to be a 20-foot shipping container behind my house, and as you can see, it's not a 20-foot shipping container. This is a 40-foot high cube shipping container, so it is twice as long and a foot taller. So that's going to provide a couple of really good benefits for me. I'll get into that here in a second. Let me get the camera moved and maybe get myself in the frame a little bit, and let's talk about what's going on in here. Stand by. All right, guys, here it is. We are standing in the new shipping container that's going to eventually be my shop. Now, I've actually had this thing sitting back here for maybe a year now, and I've actually owned, well, the ranch manager has owned the Conex for about 2 years. He got it for me. Yeah, he got it for me in the spring of 18, and it's just for the first 3 months we had it, it just kind of sat on the trailer. It was the middle of the summer. It was really, really busy. We were cutting hay. We were moving cattle around. I never had a chance to do anything with it. Because of that, unfortunately, I never inspected it. I didn't know that I had to. This is the first time that I'd ever bought a shipping container before, and the boss actually drove our own semi to Salt Lake and picked it up at the shipping depot there. So he didn't realize he needed to inspect it either. Lo and behold, when I finally get around to inspecting it, it's full of holes, the roof leaks, the patching is terrible, and because we had waited so long to do any kind of inspection whatsoever on it, the shipping company we bought it from basically told us to go pound sand, even though they're supposed to guarantee it for a year. I really dislike calling any companies out by name, especially on YouTube, because that can have a lasting effect on a company for one person's bad experience. So I'm not going to do that, but suffice to say, I was not happy with the end result. I ended up trying to patch the roof myself. As you can probably see, the roof is supposed to bow like this, so water runs off to the sides and then drains down the frame. And the roof is all caved in, so water pools up there, and right above where we're standing here, you can see, maybe you can see, I'm not sure, this kind of lighter brown area, that's one of the patches that they did. And it leaks at the seams there, and then it leaks at another spot just in front of that patch, and drips water constantly onto the floor. So I've taken some Rust-Oleum leak seal, kind of like Flex Seal, but the Rust-Oleum version. I've been spraying layers of that on the roof, but the problem is there's so much standing water because it's wintertime, it's not really working. It's just the water just drips right through the coating. So I'll have to try to mitigate that some other way. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what's happening now is that the reason it's taking me so long to do anything is because, of course, when we got the shipping container back here, the understanding that I have with my wife is that since we don't have a garage at our house, this is going to be my shop. I'm going to move my lathe and my drill press and eventually get a milling machine in here. And part of the reason why I wanted a high cube container is that if I ever run across a nice Bridgeport or something, I'll actually be able to fit it in here. I got that extra height in here. It's a foot taller than a standard shipping container. And with the extra length, I've got plenty of room to kind of make up for the fact that it's a very narrow container. So I can have all of my equipment on one wall if I want, or however. I'm not sure how I'm going to set it up yet, but anyway, going back to what I was saying, as soon as we got this thing, my wife, since we don't have a garage, started moving all of our household stuff out here, basically filled it up with her things, which is fine. That's no big deal. But because it was so chocked full of household stuff, I didn't have any room to do any work in here. I ran the electrical to the wall and plumbed a breaker panel in here, but there was literally no room for me to safely work in here and run wires or anything else. So basically what we ended up doing is getting a second 40-foot shipping container. And this last container we bought it from Mobile Mod Containers. Now the reason I'm mentioning them is because compared to the last company we worked with, the experience was night and day better. I mean, those guys were outstanding. Their customer service was on the spot the entire time. I mean, the guy that I actually found him through Facebook Marketplace, believe it or not. And the guy, Dave, that I worked with, his name is Dave Kaiser. He was absolutely fantastic. He was super patient with me. Like, it took me probably 4 months to convince the boss to pull the trigger on this thing because the ranch bought it. We're just renting it. It's not actually our container. So they ended up paying the extra money for Mobile Mod to deliver it to us. Their customer service got everything ordered up for us. Dave got everything lined out. And because shipping containers are a commodity, the prices fluctuate. So we got quoted like $3,400 delivered for a 40-foot high cube shipping container. And when we actually ordered it the following week, when we went to pay, he actually gave us a $100 refund because the price went down. And they passed those savings on to us. So that's a really stand-up way to do business, and I'm very appreciative of that. So On top of that, when you order a shipping container, especially used ones, unless you're buying it new, you can't pick the color most of the time. Because these shipping containers get stacked up in a stack yard somewhere in Salt Lake or Miami, New York, LA, wherever the big depots are, and you get the first one off the stack. That's it. I mean, they have big tower cranes, they just pull them off and they load them on trucks, and that's it. Usually you can't pick. But I happened to mention, I said, look, the boss would really like us to get like a brown or a tan one. If that's possible, do you think you guys can find us one? They're like, no problem, we'll figure it out. We ended up getting a brown one. That doesn't happen. So I'm just 100% satisfied with Mobile Mod containers. I think they're awesome. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not getting any kickbacks for mentioning them by name on here. I just, compared to the first company we worked with, those guys are fantastic and they deliver nationwide. So if you want to get a shipping container, you're in the market, they're fair, they're honest, they deliver for you. And on top of that, usually these shipping containers come with a 1-year guarantee. With Mobile Mod, 5-year guarantee, wind and watertight. So that's huge. That's in and of itself worth any extra money that you might pay, but not only were they the cheapest, but when the price came down, they gave us a refund for the difference. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. So anyway, we got our second 40-foot up there. And I had the kids go in here and clean out a bunch of stuff, which is why there's crap everywhere on the floors, because they were just kind of gathering household stuff up and getting it out of here. I haven't had a chance to actually go through and clean it yet. So that's going to be job number 2 here. Job number 1 was getting lights in here. I had the breaker panel over there, did not have any lights in here. So we were running extension cords from the house in here, and I had my little can lights and my little snap-on LED light just so I could see. So last week I spent a couple of days with my sons going through and hanging all of these LED lights. These are commercial electric LED shop lights that you just buy at Home Depot. They're linkable, so they come with little link cables. You can link up to 9 of them in series before the drivers start getting overloaded. So I've got 8 of them hooked up right now. I got 2 banks of lights, 4 on each side of the container, and they are extraordinarily bright for what they are. I mean, every bit as bright as your standard fluorescence. They're not high bay lights. They're not like, blinding. But I have plenty of light in here. It lights up the entire inside of the container, with the exception of the little, 6 inches above where they're hanging is a little bit of a shadow. But that doesn't matter. I'm not working up there. I'm working down here, and they're fantastic. So not a huge investment there. They're LED, so they're very low current draw. I have all 8 of them running off of 120 amp single pole breaker, and it's not even getting close to getting that breaker warm or getting the wiring warm. I did the amp calculations, and I think it only draws, between all 8 of these things, it's 13 amps. So I'm well within the 80% limit on the circuit breaker's rating, and we're good. So basically how the lighting is set up is that I have 2 3-way switches. I'm using MC cable, armor-clad cable. I have 12 3-wire linking the 2 switches together. And then I've got 12-2 going from the switch to the outlet and the switch to the breaker panel. And what that allows me to do is run 3-way switches. So that way I can have a switch here and a switch at the other end, and we can turn the lights on or off from either end of the container. So there's one switch down there by the swing doors. There's another switch right here where this other man door is going to go. I'm going to end up cutting out a section right here, welding in some 2x2 square tubing for a frame, and I'll get that all sealed in. And then we'll be able to just walk in from right here, not break the seal on those big swing doors down there. That way we can keep some heat in here. Job number 2, now that the lights are in here, is that I'm going to finish running outlets. This end of the container where I'm standing is probably going to be where most of my machines are. So I'm probably going to put most of my outlets down here. I've got 2 wired so far down at this far end. One for a heater and one for my Makita charger, so I can charge up my impact. But I'll probably have a bunch more. I think I've got 7 or 8 more outlets I can put in down here. And I got plenty of space in my breaker panel for enough circuits to do all that. I apologize if you hear any rustling around back there. We built a little dog enclosure. Let me kind of turn you around here. Maybe we'll just take you down here and look. Saber's probably in there. It's wintertime right now. It's very cold out. So we built this little enclosure right here for the pooches. So Saber and Riley can come in here. Oh, there he is. Hey, buddy. Hi, Saber. And he's got his own heater right here. So that keeps him nice and warm. Hey, bud. What are you doing? So he's got his blankies and his toys, and yeah, we love our dogs, so we spoil them. But a nice little enclosure for them right there, and a little doggy door cut in the side that's all sealed up so the wind doesn't get in. And we got shipping blankets over the top to keep the heat in there, so that makes them happy. So anyway, he's in there right now, which is why you're hearing all that rustling around. Now, as far as my power goes, I'm going to preface this by saying one thing. I am not an electrician. I'm not certified. I'm not even that familiar with the NEC, which is the National Electrical Code. I'm doing all of this based on the very little knowledge that I have because I used to be the ops manager for Rocky Mountain Electrical and Automation, and I sold this kind of stuff to contractors. So over time, I kind of just learned how it worked. So don't take anything that you see here as advice or an example, because I'm not an electrician and I take no responsibility if you light your house on fire or burn something down, okay? Anyway, I have a 100 amp disconnect sitting outside. It's on a weatherproof post, so that's a standalone disconnect that will shut an entire power down to the Conex. So I can flip that switch and then work in here if I need to without worrying about electrocuting myself. So that comes in, it's 240 volt circuit that comes in. I've got my lights on this breaker panel. I've got my outlets on this side of the Conex on this breaker. The rest of my outlets will probably be split between these two breakers, so I don't have too much on one breaker. And then I have enough for 4 240 volt circuits, which I'll probably end up using all of them. I'll have one for my air compressor. I'll have one for the VFD that drives my lathe. I'll have another for a large forced air heater that I ordered. It's actually sitting over in the ranch's shop right now. I got to bring that over here and get it wired up. And then I'll have a fourth outlet for, it'll be another 240 volt outlet, so it can run a welder, or it can run another VFD for, like, maybe if I put one on my drill press or something like that. Just having these 240 volt circuits is nice to have, you know. I have plenty of power to run them. I just got to get stuff hooked up. So anyway, that's how the power is set up in here. And eventually I am going to get the compressor hooked up, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I'm thinking I want to build a little compressor shack right on the outside here on this corner. I don't want to bring it in here because you can probably hear the echo. And even if I build a little shack for it or something in here, A, it's going to take up a huge amount of room. And B, it's still going to be loud. I mean, I'm going to go deaf every time that thing kicks on if I try to set up my compressor in here. It sucks that I haven't had a chance to set it up yet. It's a brand new Atlas Copco 2-stage AR series air compressor. And I've had it for almost 2 years and I haven't hooked it up yet. It's been sitting wrapped in a tarp, brand new, right out here. So I need to get that going so I can actually run the plasma cutter. Probably end up doing the air compressor first, that way I can bring the plasma cutter over here, plug it into my 240 volt outlet, and just plasma cut this door opening out instead of trying to use a grinder. That'd be a lot less messy and a lot faster. So that's the plan for right now. I'm gonna finish doing the electrical, get the doors cut in, get the compressor set up, and get this place clean, and then we can start moving the equipment over in here and getting that set up. So that's where we're at for the time being. I'm excited. A lot of cool things happening. So for the few of you guys that were wondering, I posted a video probably a couple of years ago now about getting the pad set up where we're standing. That was originally going to be for that 20-foot Conex, and I had to extend that pad obviously and get set up for a 40-footer, but now that it's here, here's your update. We're standing in it. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. There'll be more to come on this. I'm still working at it. It's just going to take a little bit of time, as everything does out here, because I still have to work. So anyway, I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll do my best to get back to you. Anyway, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.